Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order a special July 9th, 2026 Poquoson City Public Schools School Board meeting. Okay. Tonight we only have a single item that we're considering. Ms. McGilligan, could you please give your presentation on the amended FY 26-27 budget?
All right. Good evening, Chair Burbidge, school board members, Mr. Tillett, and members of our community. Tonight I'll be providing a brief finance update regarding the FY 27 state budget revenue changes and how those changes impact the 2% compensation increase that was included in the approved PCPS budget. All right, so the FY 27 budget was approved with a 2% compensation increase for employees. Since that time, the updated state budget has been finalized and the VDOE calc tool has been received. The updated state budget increased the funded compensation amount from 2% to 4%. Since the funding is now available, we are recommending that the FY 27 pay plan be adjusted so PCPS employees receive the full 4% compensation increase. Okay. All right, so the reason this item is coming for tonight is timing. The full FY 27 amended budget will come back to the board in August, but the pay plan needs to be approved before July payroll is finalized so employees can receive the 4% compensation increase without delay. Tonight's action is limited to the FY 27 pay plan only. All right. So the estimated additional cost to move from the 2% increase to a 4% increase is approximately $444,513. This amount includes salary-related benefits. Health insurance is not impacted by the salary percentage increase. Based on the updated calc tool, we have identified enough additional state revenue to cover this cost. The funding plan shown on this slide includes the additional compensation supplement of $227,006, the sales tax increase of $143,795, the English learner increase of $21,931, and $51,781 of the special education funding increase. Those specific funding sources total $444,513, which fully covers the estimated cost of providing the 4% compensation increase. The reading file that you have includes more details on these amounts, as well as other increases in the updated calc tool that are not being used for this specific funding plan. For tonight, I wanted to show that the additional state revenue is enough to cover the pay plan increase without reducing current operating budget expenditure lines. All right, so the FY 27 budget amendment will be brought to the board in August for approval, with the reading file sent the week prior for your review. Tonight, we are recommending the school board approve the FY 27 pay plan from a 2% compensation increase to a 4% compensation increase. This allows July payroll to be finalized using the updated salary amounts. You also have the updated proposed pay plan in front of you as well. All right, this concludes my update for the evening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions?
So I guess I noted your little description here about the sales tax revenue. And we're
Yes.
monitor that sales tax revenue.
Yes.
It kind of includes a little statement at the bottom that we're monitoring that, and if it doesn't meet, there's a potential that we will adjust our budgets. Do we know what adjusting?
Not at this time. That is the sales tax is a fluid amount, and so we're budgeting based on what the calc tool is providing us at this time. In the past few years, it has always come in at or above what has been projected through the calc tool, so we do not anticipate having an issue, but we will definitely keep track of it, and it would be later in the school year before it may cause an issue.
And I would just add to that, like with most budgets, we estimate a lot of those anticipated revenues and anticipated cost. Gas prices can go up, various things. So on the expense side and the revenue side, certain things are estimated. And throughout the year, we monitor the big ticket items like sales tax, big expenses as well, so we can balance that as we need to. If we need to cut in one area in order to supplement another area, we watch that at least quarterly throughout the year so that we don't end up in the red in any situation. I hope that helps.
Any other questions? Mr. Dowd?
I'm good.
Is there any
question?
pub-
Hold on, no
One
question.
more question. So I know historically, we've always taken that funding from the state, and they give us 2% or the 4% for those specific positions. Buy it across the board. I think I saw it in, can you refresh me on what the actual portion that we have to come up with to make that across the?
So if you look in your reading file, the compensation supplement included from the state, $226,199. It was then updated to $453,205. All right, and then so the number that we needed to come up with is $217,507.
So my follow-up question is, considered not doing that across?
I mean, as far as not like
Just funding what the state. provides and
SOQ
give that-
positions?
Right.
We have not.
I mean, we're already considering a 2% raise for everybody across the board.
Yes.
Hypothetically, we could still give everybody specific positions at 4%.
You can. I would strongly advise against that. It sends a very dangerous message to employees that one group of employees is more important for whatever reason than another group of employees. We work very hard to send the message that it takes all 304 of our employees to make the success happen. And I have seen that take place in the other divisions, and it creates a significant morale issue. As well, some of our lowest paid employees who desperately need pay raises are not SOQ positions.
And keep in mind that the SOQ positions aren't necessarily, so if we have 4 principals, for example, the state may fund us for 3. So then you would, if you're looking specifically at what the state is only funding, then you would come down to okay, well, we have 4 sped teachers, but the state's funding us for 2, so which 2 are we going to pick? So it's not a clean formula that the state uses.
Just as a sidebar, this is certainly not the place to have a deep conversation about this, but this funding formula in the Commonwealth is grossly flawed, and pretty much everybody knows it. We've referred multiple times to the JLARC study. That's the General Assembly conducted themselves. They've studied this ad nauseum and have found that it's got to be corrected. They tried to make some steps in this last session of the General Assembly, and they've tasked the state superintendent and Secretary of Education to come up with a proposal for next budget cycle to try to amend this flawed system of SOQ funding, where every school system in the state only gets a portion of the funding they need, leaving an undue burden on the local community to fund the difference. So it's a larger conversation, but pretty much all the folks in the mix realize that it's a flawed funding system, and it creates this burden on local school divisions to try to find a way to come up with the balance, so to speak, in when they offer pay raises and other things that are funded through that same SOQ formula. But good question.
I appreciate that. I was more trying to get along, in a year where we're trying to count pennies everywhere, maybe just providing that justification why that's not an acceptable place to cut that money.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
To play devil's advocate right quick, though, just to give everybody a raise all the time, because I'm not saying that I'm against, I think that everybody should get it this year, but sometimes you have employees that do a way better job, and it can also give them a disservice to give them the same thing that every single other person gets, so.
Yeah, and that's another conversation that certainly I'd be happy to engage about a merit system for pay. It's been tried a lot of times in public education. There's some interesting history in the Commonwealth of trying this. And theoretically, it's something that I personally support, and I think a lot of other people would too. When you get in the weeds on trying to build it, in the criteria for how you determine merit for certain employees in a school system, that's very difficult to do because, how do you determine whether one bus driver is a better bus driver than another, and certain levels of our professional staff. When you get into, are we going to measure test scores by a certain teacher versus another teacher? A variety of different things that go into how you determine the criteria by which you would measure merit for such raises, but it's worthy conversation. In this case, the state of Virginia is trying to ambitiously to get to a national average for educators' salaries, and are making significant progress, but are still behind. So part of this is, a tide floating all the boats to get everybody to a certain level, and then maybe a room for a conversation about then how do you add merit on top of that once you get to a kind of a competitive rank for teacher salaries or educator salaries.
And don't forget, there are supplemental additions, as teachers and staff volunteer for different things, different club mentors and things like that as well. So, it's not a merit base, but, they are compensated for their time and effort.
Kind of spiked my curiosity when the state provides us that funding, is it specified that percent raise for that position, or is it just a bucket of money, distribute that throughout those positions?
So the 4%, it does say SOQ funded. So while we have to use it, we don't have to use it for every position. No, we don't have to. But if we're going to do, say, a 4%, then we have to do a 4%. We can't then say we're going to do a 3% for some and a 4% for others, that sort of thing. So.
Questions? Okay. So I guess this is kind of an awkward meeting here. We do the vote in section 4, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but we still have to go. Is there anyone here for public comment?
No, sir, no public comment.
Okay. All right. Moving along for matters for consideration. Item A is consideration of approval of the approved amended FY 26-27 budget described in the enclosed reading file. Can I have a motion to approve item A?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussions? Okay. Ms. Graham, the vote, please.
Mr. Dowd.
Aye.
Ms. Gilbert.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
And Chair Burbidge.
Aye.
Vote passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
With that vote, I am going to adjourn the meeting.